You've logged on to www.dailyrecord.co.uk. David McCarthy, Gavin Bailey, Scott McDermott, myself, Jim Traynor have just been discussing Neil Lennon's call for Rangers to be stripped of titles. Gavin? No. That's not what he said before we went on air. He said they should be stripped of titles.
I think as Neil Lennon said himself, it won't bring that feeling back. He said, and
yeah, but there's another case. Should they not? If it's shown that Rangers are guilty of their use of EBTs, or if they have dual contracts, and therefore they shouldn't have those players, should they have those titles still in the record books?
Yes, I just don't know what it would achieve really by taking them away. And at the end of the day, football, you still have to sign players. You need to play, football matches are won on grass. You've still got to pick players to win games, and the manager still has to get out and sign these certain players.
Yeah, but if you're using money that you really shouldn't be using, or using it in a way that shouldn't be used, then you wouldn't have had those players, would you?
But does every club not spend money that they've not got? If that's the crux of Neil Lennon's argument that Rangers.
I don't know if every club does.
I mean, Man United are what, 800 million worth of debt. I mean, you start taking things off and saying Sir Alex Ferguson isn't the great manager that he is because he's overspent.
But this is all about sporting integrity, isn't it?
Yeah, Scottish football's been full of that in the last few years.
Honestly, if I hear that much more, especially from some of the people who are putting it about, and I'm talking about people who are running football clubs, going on about sporting integrity, it's got nothing to do with sporting integrity.
No.
If it had, we wouldn't be in this mess.
Absolutely.
Do you think there's been is there now a malice against Rangers? The decision's been taken through vindictiveness now?
I think that it's that we've possibly reached that stage. I think that you've written about it a few times, Jim, that there comes a point where the club has to stop being punished. I think it has been punished quite substantially.
But then the SFA, well, they still argue, don't they, David, that demotion to third division for Rangers is not a punishment, it's a consequence of their own actions.
That's right.
But
well, but you could argue that all day. The fact remains is that they will be starting it out in the host league. At the minute, they've still got a 12-month transfer ban hanging over them now. Whether that pans out or not remains to be seen. They were fined 160 grand. They lost 10 points last season for getting into administration, which again is a consequence of their own actions. Fully admit that. But what I'm saying is that eventually you've got to start letting that club play football again.
I would be surprised, I must admit, now that it's out there, because the record had a thing in the paper the other day about the number of titles, the exact titles in Scottish Cups that some within the game, certainly in the SPL, want Rangers to lose now. But I'd be surprised if the SFA push for that to be ratified, or that I'd be surprised if they don't resist the calls for that to be ratified by them.
What makes you think that?
I just know these things, Dave. I just know these things. And I would be very surprised. I think the SFA are looking at it and thinking they'd be stupid not to now. We're in a bind, the SPL are in a bind, Scottish football's in a bind, so are Rangers. We need a way out. And if we're going to stick on titles that are not going to be given to anybody else anyway, you're not going to proceed with this process. Therefore, I think they'll see sense. And bear in mind as well, Stuart vulnerable, as Neil Doncaster is. They're both vulnerable because of their handling of this situation. They're both vulnerable. They both desperately need a way out. And if they can't get a way out because they're allowing certain people to say you must strip Rangers of titles and trophies, then it's the end. And I think those two at least realise we need to put that to one side now and find a solution.
At least if they do strip the titles, I mean that is it. There's nothing else to be done. That is the absolute.
Well, no, because they're still insisting on a transfer ban. Here's a solution to a transfer ban. What if it was from the 1st of September to September? Therefore, Rangers could sign up until the end of this transfer window. And if you can't use those weeks to get enough players to win the third division title, you should be out of business anyway.
How much money?
Would that be a compromise? We're doing sex to get a player to win the third division. Come on.
It could also, I think, as you've said before,
would that be a compromise, you think? Would that be fair?
It could also say...
Well, we'll put that to the SFA then, and I think you'll find that they'll probably jump at that.
And they'll probably say, why would I have thought of that before?
Could they not also say you can't sign players for money, but you can sign loans? Or
No, it's not actually a transfer ban, it's a registration ban, which means you can't sign anybody on any kind of contract. So it's a pretty severe one, but you know, you could say suspend it like you do in courts. I mean, you two will know about that, Gavin and Scott, because you're always in court. Every time you're out on Saturday night, you always appear. That's why you're late for work Monday mornings, and you get your sentence suspended, don't you? Well, you could suspend it and say, if we so much as put our foot wrong, then we, that's Rangers, will accept an immediate transfer ban. But then, you imagine they wouldn't put a foot wrong. So therefore, it's not actually a ban. So I think a compromise is, all right, then you can use this transfer window, but then you miss the next one. Next two, isn't it? Christmas and then the next summer.
Yeah.
But then, if you're in the second division, if you win the title and you're halfway through the second division, surely Rangers, if they're not winning the first division by that time, they've got the Christmas one, and they would get enough players in, you would imagine, to win that title. So I think that's a fair compromise.
But then the others, playing devil's advocate, the others who are lining up to kick Rangers will say, why compromise, why bend the rules for, you know?
Yeah, well, I mean,
No, because
you don't get
Rangers
to
have
a
already
point,
argued in a
you
court
don't
of
get
law
to a
that
point
the
where you
transfer
draw a
ban-
line and
Yes,
say,
yeah.
you know, Rangers in a different. If Rangers dig their heels in and say, we are not accepting that transfer ban, any kind of transfer ban, because Lord Glenn in court session said it's not in the SFA's list of sanctions. But the only three things left are out of the Scottish Cup. Well, Dunfermline get thrown out for
registration.
Registered team lines or something. Well, Rangers' crimes are much worse than that, so you couldn't say you're out of the Scottish Cup, because that wouldn't be fair on Dunfermline. The two others are temporary suspension of your membership or complete termination of your membership, and that does nobody any good. Stuart Regan's a man who shot Rangers in that case.
The Scottish Cup thing is actually a bit of a misnomer. Dunfermline weren't kicked out of the Scottish Cup. Dunfermline won their first game 7-1 and fielded an ineligible substitute, and it was against Stenhousemuir, and they were then ordered to replay the game at Stenhousemuir, and they won the game, so they were still in the Scottish Cup. The reason why I know that, Jim, is because you sent me to Stenhousemuir that night.
and did they not, was that not to play Celtic in the next round? No?
It was to play Celtic in the next round, that's right.
So they made a few quid.
Aye.
So it was hardly punishment.
There's compromise needed now, isn't it, to
There
get
is,
this?
aye.
Compromise needed, and yet
It
there'll
is.
be a lot of people out there saying, no, you must strip them of these titles. Is that important at this stage, do you think?
I think in the grand scheme of things it's not that important.
But if you're say you were a Celtic fan, would you think it was important then?
I think if you're a Celtic fan, you would probably be looking at Rangers being punished by having the title stripped off them, yeah.
I'm surprised at Neil Lennon's comments, just knowing the type of player he was and the type of guy he is. Like Gavin said earlier, I just think in Lennon's mind, no, it wouldn't matter who he was playing against. Probably those Old Firm games in those seasons, he would have believed that they lost
I think
fair and
Stubbs
square.
said that,
Do you know what I mean?
not long ago, that basically you go out and you play your football in the park, and if you win, you win, if you don't, you don't.
I think we have to get beyond titles. Not that my team ever win any, but I think we need to get beyond titles now and just try and move this on and find a compromise, because it's going on too long. The season's about to start, and are we going to start a season without Rangers?
Well, you know, you would think not, Jim, but the way that everything else has panned out, I mean, seriously, would anybody have thought 3 months ago that Rangers would be playing in the third division?
And also, you've got to factor in Charles Green as well. We still don't know what he's doing.
No.
And there's another guy, Craig Mathers, isn't it, from which is effectively a sports agency, I think. Maybe doing a bit of service, but and he's saying, I've got 10% of Rangers for £1 million. I mean, they're throwing bits of it away for loose change, basically. Now, if this continues, anybody who really wants to get rid of Charles Green and build this club up again is going to have to negotiate with a posse of people who own a wee bit here and a wee bit there, and you'll never get that club. Seems a bit chaotic the way they're doing it, does it not?
What do you think his long-term
He's a
plan is then? Is there a long-term plan?
Right. Does he want to get into a situation, because bear in mind, Charles Green has never been shouting and screaming about the sanctions. We're not taking this is unfair. Never. There's one man has, that's McCarthy. But nobody else in that board has. None of the other investors have been saying this is outrageous. So why are they quiet on this? Why are they accepting everything? Does he want to be boxed into a corner where he says, Rangers fans are not buying season tickets off me, the SFA won't give me a membership, it's not my fault, I'm selling all this. And shouldn't it? Is that a possibility?
Would it not be
It's a
better?
possibility.
I just wonder what the end game is for Charles Green. He's always been up front and said, look, I'm in it. You know, he wants short term, he wants to make money and then he'll move on. But I mean,
Well, his plan's messed up now then,
but
isn't
it was the same with Craig White. We kept saying, oh, what is the end game? Where does it end? And I can't see where the attraction is for Charles Green. I mean, he must have known there was a chance he could end up in a lower league, but it's not an attractive.
But would it not make more financial sense for Charles Green just to bite the bullet for 2 or 3 years? Will it not be worth far more if he can get them back into the SPL and get European football again?
But Rangers fans have been shouting about, protesting about the sanctions, but the guy who claims to be acting in their interests hasn't said a word. I just find that strange that you've got a guy who's supposed to be the manager, Alan McCoy, standing doing the chief executive's job, because he's at the SFA and saying, you can't do that, you can't do this, we're not accepting this, it's unfair. The chief executive should be doing that, surely. That's not a manager's job.
Yeah.
The manager's job is to put a team together, get players. In Rangers' case, they can't anymore because there's a transfer ban. Right, but anyway, we'll cut this short now. Stripping the titles and trophies?
No.
No.
We have just been subjected to almost 12 minutes of true blue bile. I'm sure as you listen to that diatribe from the Daily Record, all was from Mr. Traynor and all was from his friends who are always, always, always true blues. You will notice about 4 minutes in, maybe even less, that one of the co-conspirators of that download states that we are being punished, or we have been punished too much. That tells us nothing except he is a Rangers fan. Everybody in Scottish football, 96% of all Scottish fans, have already stated that Rangers, Glasgow Rangers FC 1872/1899 to the 12th of June 2012 have cheated. There has not been one single word from any of the Scottish media about John Ure Primrose's pledge to the Masonic Lodge. And the fact, and it is an academically proven fact by Stuart Sanders, that this was a public pledge. This was not something done in secret, this was made public 50 years before I was even thought of in my, in fact my father wasn't even thought of at this particular time. Around the time of the pledge, my grandfather was just getting married and just beginning to have his family, and by 1920 he had lost a couple of children, and his third surviving or fourth surviving child had just been born. That surviving child was Robert Rab Hutton, my uncle Rab. But my father wasn't even born until September 1927. The really tragic news and the tragic fact about this pledge is that Glasgow Rangers FC went recruiting in the Orange Lodge and in the Masonic Lodge for staff, not players. Because how many players can you sign from the Masonic Lodge? How many teenagers in the Masonic Lodge even have the potential to pull on a Rangers shirt and actually play for the side? There is more hope of signing player material from the Orange Lodge. But the Orange Lodge is a religious order. The Masonic Lodge is a devilish, Luciferian order. Lucifer drives the lodge. Lucifer, in case you didn't know, is the god of this world. But the God of Abraham, Isaac and Jacob is Jesus Christ, or Jehovah. This is just football. And the scandal of this is that this group of ne'er-do-wells actually think that Rangers have been punished too much. They've been punished sufficiently, when in truth nothing has been done about the fact that Rangers have not paid for their players. Half of those players who played out the season with Rangers last season were tapped. Maurice Edu admitted that he approached his friends in the US national side, Carlos Bocanegra and Alejandro Bedoya, to come to Ibrox. That's the same thing that Rangers have done in the Scottish international camps for a very long time. In fact, they've done it forever. And they will continue to do it as long as the Scottish public allow it to go on. The fact is, some clubs will be financially tested in this market. Some clubs will be subjected to all manner of deprivation from Sky. But let's also remember that Sky is owned by Rupert Murdoch, a 33rd degree Freemason, a member of the Illuminati, and the media is owned by the Bilderberg Group. The Bilderberg Group are the darkest group of people on planet Earth. Football? Let's talk about football. Let's talk about what happens when the rules of football are applied. We have a referee, we have two formerly known as linesmen, now assistant referees, and we have a fourth official. In some cases we have other officials being brought into the game. Occasionally they will use action replays to pull up certain players for certain offences at certain times. But the fact is that football is governed by rules. When we were kids, we used to kick a ball about anywhere there was space. We played on the roads with bricks and jackets as goalposts. The ball didn't hit the post, it went over the post. And we honestly, between ourselves, determined whether the ball was close enough that it would have went into the goals. We knew what was high, we knew what was low, and we also knew when we were fouling and when we were fouled. We ran the game ourselves, but hey, we were just kids. We knew nothing about the Masonic Lodge. We knew nothing about the Knights of St. Columba, and we were just being introduced to the sectarianism that is rife and has been rife in Scotland ever since a particular club decided that they didn't like the game going away from them. This is Robert Hutton, the shadow of Yale Policy Centre in New Haven, Connecticut, saying, "Wake up, Scotland. Wake up now, or watch the entire game die."